everybody. Welcome to C3 Films. My name is Cheryl, and this is...
Chris.
And today, we're doing a special episode going through our top picks for things that came out in 2023. Chris, you're going to do movies. I might lead a little bit into TV shows because I don't watch that many movies, surprisingly, considering the nature of our show. But that being said, let's start with you, Chris. What's your top picks for 2023 movies? And this isn't just stuff that we've talked about on the show. This is just in the year, all the movies in 2023 that came out and you had a chance to see.
Sure. There's a lot of good movies that came out in 2023. 2023 was a really good year for video games, and it was a good year for movies, but also a bad year for movies. You had a lot of movies that came out that bombed, like The Flash or Indiana Jones, and a couple other movies. But there were some genuine, good films to watch last year. And so, because we had the Super Mario movie, D&D, the Guardians movie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and then Netflix had a couple of Netflix originals that were interesting to watch, and movies like Past Lives came out. So there's a good amount of movies to pick from, but what I'm going to say are my favorites are going to be the ones that kind of affected me in a certain kind of way, and that I personally enjoyed, regardless of whatever the accepted quality of those movies might be for everyone else. But I'll do my top three, starting with number three. And my third favorite movie of last year was Dungeons and Dragons. And that movie came at a time when I felt like there wasn't really anything that was interesting or good that was coming out. And I had seen John Wick 4, but it didn't make me feel the same way that the other John Wick movies had, or at least John Wick 1 and 2, specifically John Wick 1. And so I just was kind of on movies. And when I saw Dungeons and Dragons, I was expecting it to be bad, so that probably helped. And when I went in, I was pleasantly surprised to find that it wasn't only funny and full of heart, it was also very creative. There's some very creative shots and choreography in there. It's a magic heist movie essentially, and there's these really cool scenes with using a portal and a mirror, and really cool apparent one take shots of following a character who can morph into different animals. A druid can morph into different animals, and we're seeing them as they're trying to escape from somebody. And so these are really cool shots that are really fun, that when you watch the movie again, they're still interesting and amazing to watch. And so I just think that was one of the movies that, when I was thinking back on last year, that really resonated and stuck out with me. And then my number two pick is a pick I know that Cheryl did not like as far as movies goes, but my number two pick is actually Elemental. I personally really enjoyed that movie, and I don't know why, but it kind of just struck a chord with me, the story that they were trying to tell, and I just kind of really connected with it. And it actually was one of the few movies that I saw last year that connected with me on more of an emotional level, not just a fun level. And so I think because of the subject matter that story was dealing with, that was something that really felt a part of me. So I think that contributed to me why I personally like that movie, regardless of how well or not well that movie did in theaters. And then lastly, my favorite movie from last year was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And that was a movie that I saw twice, and I do admit that the more you see that movie, the less good it seems. But at this point, after only seeing it twice, I feel like I still overall really enjoy that movie for all these different reasons, from the art design to just the animations to the characters. And the one thing is that the ending of the movie kind of bugs me, but overall, I think that was the movie that when I walked out from, I had the most fun with last year. And then just shout outs go out to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and TMNT Mutant Mayhem. Those movies were also really fun, that I also very enjoyed. I enjoyed very much.
I'm totally not looking for a list of movies that came out in 2023. Okay, I don't watch a ton of movies. I think just because most of the time I'm just watching whatever is streaming. I don't go to the theaters. Although I feel like I did go to the theater one time to watch something, but I don't remember what it was for. But so just saying that my list of films that I have seen in 2023 is very small, so
Yeah.
don't judge. I would agree. I'm looking at my tiny list right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really enjoyed D&D. I think that's probably got to be. Is it my number one? I think it might have to be my number one
Oh.
considering the list that I have.
I thought for sure you would have put John Wick 4 over D&D. It sounded like you really enjoyed John Wick 4.
So the thing, and I would say the same thing about Indiana Jones 5. They
Mm-hmm.
both kind of struck a chord with me. I think if you look at it overall, like as individual films, that they're really not that great. I know we've talked a lot about John Wick 4 last episode. But I think the same for Indy 5 in the sense that they both kind of made me feel like they took the time to go back and look at what made the first one successful. What did the fans love about this franchise? And then took it back to that. Because on the journey from like Indy 4 was like terrible, the Crystal Skull one. And I think we all agreed that John Wick 3 was not that great either. So they kind of just started like dipping. Like it was becoming unenjoyable. It was becoming something that we don't like anymore. And we're like, if it continues that way, we would not like the franchise anymore. So they took it back to the roots. And I think that Indy 5 especially resembled, it was kind of nostalgic. I know, they had scenes of him being younger at the beginning, but I think they also used that same, sort of story mechanics to be more along the lines of, the original three Indiana Jones movies.
Okay.
And I do feel that way about John Wick 4 as well. They try to take it
Gotcha.
back. Yeah.
Okay. So that makes sense. So you would say that those movies might be like honorable mentions, but those aren't in your top three. D&D is maybe your top one. What would your other two be?
Honestly, I think it's probably those three.
Oh, okay.
Because if we're looking at, like, Quantum Mania was bad, The Flash was bad, Mario was okay, Elemental to me was also only okay. I think it was pretty, a standard
Right.
storyline, nothing, like, too interesting. And there's no like heartstrings for me that were being plucked like they did in Indy and John Wick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we have Bird Box, Barcelona, which I think was also only okay, and then the recut of Obi-Wan, which was also well, you can check out our episode. We had to say about that, but it's definitely interesting to watch a different version of the series. So, um, it's not an impressive list, so I don't think I have an impressive top three, which is
Okay.
why
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather take a look at the shows that we have talked about because I watch more TV
Okay.
than I do movies. So for sure, I want to say, gosh, I feel like I am living proof of how franchises are an excellent way to get an audience. Because One Piece definitely, I really think One Piece has to be my number one TV show this year. Because it really, I think it like kind of made me cry. I was so happy with the way that they represented the show and the characters that I really care about. And I don't know, it's just so good. I even got my mom to watch it, and she was like,
Oh,
"I have
wow.
to wait for another like year or whatever for
Or
the
more.
next season." And I'm like, you can watch the cartoon.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, you got like 1,000 episodes of that if you want to watch it.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, we were watching it while we were in Japan during our vacation, and at the end of that, she was like totally down for helping me go all over Japan looking for figurines.
Yes, you made a
So,
believer out of her.
yeah.
Yes, that's what we like to hear.
Yeah, so I think because of that, and just because of how much I love the anime, all of that together just kind of makes it have a special place in my heart for One Piece live action. And let's see, what else do we have? I think um, Barry. Barry, Barry's up there. And then I think for my number three, it might have to be a tie between Brother Sun and Beef.
Okay,
Because,
I was like, if she doesn't put beef on this list, I'm gonna have to ask her some questions.
yeah, I want to say so. Beef is like it's so great because it has an awesome cast and it's structured so well, but it was hard to watch. Like
Yeah, it was hard to watch.
it's like it had a little bit of humor in there, but um, but like the characters and just everything that they go through, it's hard to like wrap your head around that kind of behavior and enjoy it because of it's just really brutal to watch people be so mean to each other. I think Brother Sun was a lot easier to swallow, was more wholesome, even
It's more
though
fun.
yeah, it was more fun. But the ending and the structure for it was not like that good, and so that's why I would tie it because they both have different strengths.
True.
And
I
totally
think that.
not biased by the Asian representation, but also I
Oh, of
am.
course not. Of course not. They all both those shows also do a good job of making you dislike some of the main characters while you're watching the show, and definitely by the end because we never got to talk about it. By the time I got to the end of the Brother's Son, I was ready for Bruce to go take a permanent dirt nap. So, yeah, we had problems, but okay, cool.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
mean,
a tie.
yeah, huh?
You said so it's a tie for Brother Son and Beef for you.
Yeah, just because like it's too hard to pick because I love one for one thing and the other for another thing, and then I also dislike a little bit of each for other reasons as well. So, I think honorable mention would be Barry.
Oh, not oh, okay. Well, Barry's not just your number two. Barry is like underneath Beef and Brother Son.
Did I pick something else?
Yeah, you need.
What did I pick? What was my? It was
One Piece
one,
was literally your number one.
one,
You just you,
and then I did a tie for number
and then you said Barry, and then you
tie,
said a tie for Brother Son
tie for
and Beef.
the bees. All the bees are great.
The
Brothers,
Triple Bees.
brother, they make up for 2, 3, and fourth place.
In some kind of order like that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to say about your top picks, or do you want to, or are we good to get out of here and go to our next segment?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So yeah, that's what we thought as far as our favorite picks of 2023. My favorite movies of 2023 and Cheryl's favorite television shows of 2023. Did you guys see any of these movies or TV shows last year? And are there anything that we didn't mention that you loved? There are a lot of people that liked Oppenheimer or Kills of the Flower Moon. The Oscar season's coming up, or any of the Oscar movies, some of your favorites. Whatever you thought, comment below. Let us know. And while you're down there, if you give us a like, share, and subscribe. Even if you don't, though, I have been Chris, and this has been
Cheryl, and welcome to 2024.